Business. I am your host, Kevin Price, talking to you about you and your business. All right, Sigmund Kramer's been, busting at the seams. He talks a little bit about what's happening on various fronts, and he does a commentary over at the Christian station, KKHT.
Yep, that's correct.
But, he's really wanted to let loose, and Sigmund's been frustrated and has had a lot to say about the presidential debates. And I thought, you know what, with now the last one behind us, thank God, I thought I'd let him chime in a little bit and share.
Well, I appreciate it. Yeah, the debates have been a little frustrating for me because I wanted to see Romney really just rip at Obama's record more because there is very little to defend. I mean, it's very easily attacked, Obama's record. And golly, this last debate, he put on the kid gloves during the foreign policy debate with Obama. I was kind of disappointed because, especially in foreign policy, there's so many things unraveling in the Middle East right now. There's no excuse. Why put on the kid gloves? This is the time you go all Muay Thai on the guy.
The problem with foreign policy, unlike economic policy, is that it's a little difficult to quantify how well things are going. And that's part of the problem. One thing, though, that Romney, I thought, did an excellent job was to keep pulling the debate back where he wanted it, which was on domestic policy. And his second from his last remark, from the closing, the exact same time that Paul Ryan did his incredibly explosive, pounded moment, he did the exact same thing to Obama.
The laundry list?
The laundry list. I love that laundry list. And I tell you, I think he sat there and watched Paul Ryan and said, sometime, somewhere, I'm going to do the exact same thing to Obama to sum up this whole thing. He did it at the exact same time, knowing it was near closing time, and they really would have to summarize, their strengths at the end. And so it was masterful.
Well, I watched the debate, first with bated breath, at the very beginning. I'm thinking, okay, this is it. This is the last chance he's going to just knock it out of the park. Romney, I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And everybody said he looked presidential, and he really, handled himself well. He didn't get flustered or anything, so that's good.
Yeah.
And when I think about it, foreign policy, especially this election cycle, that ain't the big issue.
Yeah, and I'm not sure when it ever really is. I mean, when Europe was in World War II, that may have been a time where,
that's right.
And in fact, it was the pivotal issue.
How could it not be when you're at war with Japan, Italy, and Nazi Germany all at the same time? That is the #1 issue.
Yeah, his opponent,
wartime economy.
Franklin Roosevelt's opponent in the last election cycle before World War II, getting into World War II, tied Roosevelt's hands in saying, I will not go into war unless I am provoked to go into war. He tied his hands during that campaign because he was a complete isolationist. His opponent was an isolationist, and he forced Roosevelt to move in that direction.
Yeah.
And so, but that's really a very rare time, because even though things are very dicey in the foreign policy front, you know what? When you got 23 million unemployed, when you got people making middle-class people making $5,000 less a year than they were 4 years ago, I mean that's like 15% of their whole income plummeting. People can really care less about foreign policy.
Well, Obamacare, the economy, the jobs issue, those are things that really affect every American. When they look at what they're making and their paycheck hasn't gone up or it's actually gone down in the last 4 years, that affects them. What's going on in the Middle East with the Arab Spring and in Iran, all those are kind of, I don't know, they're a gray cloud out on the horizon. It may come to haunt us later. It may come to rain on us. But not right now. Right now,
we got bigger fish to fry.
That's right. But I guess from just a purely political standpoint, I really wanted to see Romney do something that was going to make me stand up and say, yes, that's my man.
The thing about it is that you wanted him to do something like you still needed to be persuaded. You understand what I'm saying? Because here it is. The debates aren't for guys like you and me. And so I'm sitting there in my mind and saying, I would do dot, 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 dot.
Right.
Wait a minute. Would I do dot, dot, dot if I was trying to persuade people who have yet to make a decision, people I affectionately call morons? Would I be doing that if I was still trying to? And the answer is no.
Yeah, he played it safe.
Well, to a certain extent.
Here's what
to a certain extent, he was firm. He was strong. He said, "Wait a minute, Mr. President, I'm still talking." He held his ground and those.
No, that's not what I mean. I don't mean that. I'm talking about policy-wise.
No, I know that.
This is where I have a problem with Romney, and you have the same problem. We talked about this. He mirrored. It was almost like a ditto. Amen. Amen to you, brother. Every time Obama came up with a foreign policy point, Romney's almost mirrored it.
Yep.
If anything, he just said, yes, I'll do that, and I'll do it a little bit more,
right,
or a little bit quicker. That's how I... And even Obama pointed out, hey, okay, so your policy is what we're doing now.
Oh, that was so... I'm telling you, he lost some points when he was that snarky. I'm telling you, Obama lost some points when he talked about, submarines, they go down in the water, airplanes.
That was so petulant.
I mean, it was like, are you kidding? I would have said, I would say, do you honestly believe I don't know that? Or you now recognize that Al-Qaeda is a threat? Wait a minute, when have I ever not thought it was a threat? It was so arrogant. I'm telling you, he, on the other hand, was too mean. Obama was too mean, and people are going to remember that. I think he did more harm than Romney did when it came to the people who have yet to make a decision.
Well, here it goes. Obama's big point of the night, the big laugh point, talking about, hey, since 1916, we've kind of come a long way from here. We have these things called carriers, and the planes land on them.
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
And we don't have to have as many horses and bayonets. And then to have all the tweets coming in from the Marines saying, with the pictures showing them with the bayonets at the end of their gun, saying, yeah, actually we do. We still use bayonets. Thanks very much.
I was hoping someone would say, hey, Mr. President, can I come to your place and show you how I use a bayonet?
He looked like a tool.
Secret Service don't call me. I'm only joking. But absolutely.
And I tweeted some stuff last night. I said Obama's idea of foreign policy debate is to look in the mirror and ask, do I want Chinese or Mexican tonight?
There you go. Or hanging out at the International House of Pancakes.
That's right.
There you go.
There you go. And he was talking about Detroit for a while, trying to pin Romney on that.
Although that's more and more like a third world country, like Africa.
What, Detroit? Yeah, I said, well, Obama's going for the Detroit vote. What he forgets is Detroit succumbed to the zombie apocalypse years ago.
Yeah.
But, he was wrong.
I'm not sure there's any people left in Detroit.
Every zinger he tried to put in, he was wrong.
Yeah.
He was wrong about Detroit. Romney did not try to bankrupt GM.
Right.
And it came out, before that, and he said, look at the op-ed, whatever,
Although, I'll take on Romney on that point. Romney, the instant he said that, and Obama essentially called him a liar, which again, that's where he's losing points. And you say style points. If you're talking about undecideds, they don't obviously care about philosophy. All they care about is style.
Like
but when he said the whole guaranteed, I wanted a guaranteed structured reorganization, his people should have posted on the news page a copy of that article for that that editorial he wrote back in 2000 and I guess it was 2009. That editorial should have been up like that.
Yeah.
The minute he was challenged, and I hate to tell you, I looked this morning, it's still not there. That was poor campaigning on the part of Romney's part.
But in the closing statements, because we are coming to the end of the show, the closing statements, or the end of the segment, I should say, the closing statements said everything I needed to hear. One of Obama's biggest problems is that he went on an apology tour.
Yes.
And whether he wants to admit it or not, and he has a problem with American exceptionalism. You remember he made the comments about,
I take exception to American exceptionalism.
Well, he thinks that, yes, America's a great country, but, the UK, they think, they have UK exceptionalism. And Switzerland, they have Swiss exceptionalism.
Not to mention North Korean exceptionalism.
Sure, why not? Well, so in his closing statements, I did notice that Obama said, America is the greatest nation on earth. Then he spent the rest of the night making a bunch of phone calls to foreign leaders telling them he didn't mean to hurt anyone's feelings.
Yeah.
He did.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because his idea of American exceptionalism is not exactly my idea.
I'll have more flexibility to trash America once I'm reelected.
No doubt.
All right, do you feel better?
No.
Oh,
I know,
I'm sorry.
Because ultimately, we still have Romney, and Obama.
Yeah, ultimately.
Reagan's not on the ballot, I'm sorry to say.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, this whole Reagan-esque, it's making me physically nauseous, because this is a guy, Mitt Romney, who distanced himself from Reagan. He spent his entire career as governor. I'm no Ronald Reagan. You know what? You're right. I'm glad you admit it, but there should be a statement of humility, not one of pride.
That's
and
right.
that's how he talked about it, was with pride.
That's absolutely right. And unfortunately, I mean, I see that.
I'm no Ronald Reagan either, and I'm humbled by that reality, to be perfectly frank.
Well, I'm glad you're not frank.
Don't say anything snide.
Yeah, I'm glad you're not frank.
Yeah, me too.
But you know, the last thing about Israel and that I got to say, I've said it's sad that there's more daylight between the U.S. and Israel than between Mitt Romney and Barack Obama on the foreign policy issues.
Yeah.
And that was my last little tweet of the night. But we have a choice between two candidates. We can't just make up.
Although, let me tell you something that resonated, was that moment when Romney said that, when Schaefer gave the scenario, what if scenario about you got a call from the Israelis.
And Romney said, let's not.
It's not going to happen. Well, he went on to say it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
I have the kind of relationship with the Prime Minister that will not happen.
Right.
And I wish he would have went further. It could happen under this administration. Won't happen under a Romney administration.
That's right, and that's what was lacking, was that attack mode from Romney. He was playing it, mittens. They call him mittens. Well, he had the mittens on.
Well, with a name like Mitt, what do you expect?
What do you expect?
I think this segment better be over, or we're going to have to go an extra hour. All right, I'm Kevin Price, that was Sigmund Kramer, and now you see why we have him on so rarely. No, I'm just joking. Great job, Sigmund, and I share your pain. All right, when we come back, we're going to have much more for you. I want to remind you, best content here shows up over there, usdailyreview.com.